Welcome back to Talk of the Town. We are joined by Senator Tom Davis today. So good to have you with us.
Great to be with you.
All right, let's jump right in. Talk about the CARES Act.
Right.
$600 million allocated. Tell us a little bit about where that went, and y'all just recently spent the remaining $600 million.
Right.
All right, give us an update.
Well, we initially had $2 billion. We spent about $1.4 billion of it a few months ago, so we had $600 million to go. The lion's share of that money, $420 million, went into the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. And we had to do that because that fund had been depleted over the past several months to pay people who had been laid off or couldn't go into work because of the virus.
Right.
And so replenishing that trust fund was extremely important because otherwise there'd be taxes across the board on every business in South Carolina to replenish that fund at a time when they can't afford it. Secondly, we set aside a chunk of money for nonprofits to apply, and particularly in regard to the nonprofits that rely upon arts and music in congregate settings for theaters. They haven't been able to conduct business because it relies upon people being in a closed place of time. So
Right.
I'm really happy we set aside some money for the arts.
And now there's an application process
Right. There's a chunk of money set aside, $60 to $80 million, I believe, and the Department of Administration will take applications from nonprofits and other small businesses. They'll look at the situation, judge it on its merits, and they can make awards up to $50,000.
Perfect. The 278 Corridor Project, let's talk about that a little. Give us an update.
Right. Well, there are two tracks on that. First was the financing track. We had to come up with $240 million from, the state government is going to contribute about $120 million from the State Infrastructure Bank, $40 million from DOT, and $80 million is going to come from the one-penny sales tax that was passed by Beaufort County last year. So that's the financing piece that's in place. What's still ongoing is the design, functionality, aesthetics. What do we want the bridge to look like? This is where the island community gets to have input. That's when they get to talk to DOT about what they want this bridge to look like. How do we minimize impact on historic gullah communities like Stony? I mean, how do we have its functionality be consistent with what islanders want? We're in the middle of that process right now, and it's important that we get it right because whatever we come up with, we're going to live with for the next 60 years.
Right.
I want something that the entire island can be proud of. Beaufort County has agreed to hire an independent consultant to review the DOT plans, so the community is going to have ample opportunity to have their thoughts heard.
Oh, that's perfect. And any recommendation as to how to be involved in that process at all as a community?
Yeah, going forward over the next couple, 3 months, there'll be several public hearings. You'll have the opportunity to share your thoughts. Again, there'll be an independent engineer that's going to receive that input and then share that input with the DOT to make sure we get something that is reflective of what the islanders want and not reflective of what some engineers up in Columbia want.
Yeah, that's important. There have been a lot of concerned community members about it.
Very active community, a lot of thoughts, and all we need to do is to distill those thoughts down into some concrete proposals.
Exactly. Very engaged community here. So give us an update on COVID. What's, what have you seen? And this is a totally new ballgame.
Right. And I've been in charge in South Carolina in the Senate of the testing subcommittee. And so we're ramping up testing, saliva tests. They're a lot easier to administer. You spit into a vial. You don't have the swab going up your nasal cavity. Results are much more quickly turned around because
Right.
you don't have to have a reagent process to separate something out to be tested. So going into flu season, going into the fall, ramping up tests, widespread testing, irrespective of whether you have conditions, get tested so you know your status so you can take steps to protect yourself and others.
Yeah. So what's coming up for you? Anything that, how have you been? How's your family?
Well,
this has just been a big time.
It's things have been busy between Highway 278 corridor, between the CARES Act money, between COVID-19 testing. It's been an extremely busy time, but it's what I'm elected to do, and
Right.
I really look forward to doing it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with more Talk of the Town.